We heard earlier in this newscast, the president did meet with lawmakers today on Capitol Hill, marking a third day of discussions about those issues. East Tennessee Congressman Chuck Fleischmann joins us live from Washington, D.C. And again, Mr. Congressman, the president has met with Republican leaders in recent days. Do you expect some substantial action or compromise as a result? First, yes or no, and why?
Well, no. I met with the president yesterday, and every time the president wants to meet, I show up. I think that's my duty to the people of the 3rd District of Tennessee, and to the credit of both parties, the president and the Congress. Anytime we can have an open dialogue, it's a good thing. Unfortunately, we heard more of the same. We asked the president point blank, will you balance the budget in 10 years? Not in 1 year, in 10 years. He said no. Unfortunately, the president will not agree that we have a spending problem in this nation, and we've got to continue to work hard to make him realize that. We've got a fiscal problem in this country because we're spending too much money, we're borrowing too much money, we're almost $17 trillion in debt, but I'm glad he showed up, and let's hope that we can continue this dialogue, and let's get Americans back to work.
Where do you see opportunities for compromise?
Well, I thought we would have an opportunity to compromise on spending. Unfortunately, I really thought the president would say that we have a spending problem. He does not. I see some areas for compromise, possibly on immigration reform, on some other issues, getting Americans back to work. I fervently believe, and our conference believes, in the private sector, but the president still holds steadfast to his belief in big government. There's just two fundamental differences out there, and he was honest about that. He came to us and he said, look, he feels one way, our conference feels another way, but when you're $17 trillion in debt, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to realize that you've got a spending problem in America.
Let's move to the sequestration cuts and the impacts that sequestration is having on thousands of workers in East Tennessee. We know that lots of people out at Oak Ridge, including some folks working in the National Guard, are facing some furloughs coming up, 20% hit to their paychecks. What can you say to them about some relief in the future?
Well, it's a great question. First and foremost, this was the president's sequestration. It was his idea. I voted against it. We put up 2 bills to try to replace these cuts. We've got to get fiscally smarter. We've got to cut better, but sequestration was not the way to do it. Having said that, I have worked tirelessly to make sure, and I've had meetings today, to make sure that the workers in East Tennessee are protected as much as possible. We are working very hard to make sure that any type of furloughs are limited. We're looking at different ways at DOE and Oak Ridge to make sure that there is the least possible impact on employment as possible. Let's face it, I have worked very hard since I've been in Congress to fight for the funding for Oak Ridge. It's so important what we do there at ORNL and Y-12 and our great cleanup mission there. I'm going to continue to fight hard to make sure that the workers have jobs.
Congressman Fleischmann, thanks for your time this afternoon. We appreciate